Hello everyone, welcome to the live part of the Astrolada Bonanza for all important astrological effects from 2018 till 2021. I'm live here with amazing astrologer Marina. I can't wait to have her back on the channel. She's been gone for a bit, but we're doing together the yearly horoscopes for each sign live. Do tune in starting from next week, guys. I think on the week after that, we'll be doing them over 2 weeks for each sign. So it will be live. So maybe you can ask us also questions. Hello, Marina.
Hi, Lada. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be part of this wonderful event. The idea is great. And I think that we have so many interesting things to talk about.
Yes, I forgot to say our topic is Venus in Scorpio, Retrograde 2018. Wow, intense.
Yes. Honestly, I think that this will be one of the most interesting events during the year. And it will be very important for all of us because Venus is actually related with the most important stuff in our life, with love and with money. So basically, yeah, we are all interested in love and relationships and money and comfort. And Venus is related with this topic. So I think that it will be interesting and important for all of us.
That's amazing. And when does Venus go retrograde? It was November.
Okay, so maybe actually I would like just to say a few words about the retrograde phases. I think that most of the people are aware of these phases, but maybe some of them are not. So very quickly to remind that usually we have the planets moving in the right order, one sign after sign. I mean, after Aries, then comes Taurus and Gemini. This is the traditional way how the planets are moving through the signs. But every now and then, for each planet, it is different. We have a period when the planet is moving backwards. So basically, instead of going through from Aries to Taurus, it will move back from Aries to Pisces, of course, in a different combinations every time. And all of the planets have their retrograde phase, except for the Sun and the Moon, and it is specific. So for Venus, the retrograde phase is approximately about around 40 days, and it happens once in around 18 months. So basically in half a year. Half a year.
Rare compared to Saturn, Jupiter going retrograde, Mercury, Venus is the second most rare. Mars is the rarest.
Yes, exactly. And that's why it's so interesting, because it happens very rare. For example, Mercury also maybe is the most famous planet for its retrograde phase, but it happens actually 3 or 4 times a year. So we are more used to that energy. It's also for a shorter time. So of course it's important, but when Venus goes retrograde, it's really an important event. And that's why we are going to talk about this right now. Okay, so first, and just a few words. So when the planet is moving retrograde, there is something untypical happening in the areas which are related with this planet. Something is not going in the usual way. For some people, it could be related with difficulties, with challenges. There are some things we should not do when the planet is retrograde, especially for the personal planets, when we talk about Venus, Mercury, and Mars, because they're very rare. Okay.
I can give you a very quick example. This spring, Venus, Mercury, Saturn, and Jupiter were retrograde at the same time. And this is when I was giving birth, and I had a plan how to give birth. None of my plans worked. I had a plan to breastfeed. It didn't work. Like all plans, you have to be prepared to be adaptable and very flexible, especially when there are more planets retrograde. And with Venus, it's very important because it rules usually 2 areas of your life, plus money, relationships, and love generally as well. Plus the houses it rules. Yeah, so it not necessarily has to be something bad, but it's something that you're not prepared for usually.
Yes, and here is something important to mention. Venus is actually one of the positive planets, so it is important. It's not the same as, for example, if Mars is retrograde in certain house or in certain sign, because Venus can bring some positive stuff, some positive changes in your life, but you have to be prepared. And of course, it depends on the aspects that Venus will make with your birth planets. But sometimes it can be beneficial, because here is what we have. So the planet is moving through certain position in the zodiac. Then it goes retrograde through the same degrees, and then it goes for the third time through the same degree. So basically we have certain place of the zodiac where the planet will move for 3 times during approximately 2 months, let's say. And if it is making some positive aspects with your planets, actually you can benefit in this area because it is Venus, it's not Mars or a malefic planet.
It's like a prolonged Venus transit. Basically it becomes like an outer planet, because usually Venus transits for 2-3 days a place, so you kind of have a nice dinner with friends or someone gives you a compliment.
The exact aspect.
For kind of 2-3 months it affects you. It's like you have Venus intensely events of love and money happening. Positive.
Yes, and something important is that when the planets are moving retrograde, they are moving much slower. And let's say that Venus retrograde will make certain aspect with one of your planets. This aspect will last for longer period. That's why the influence will be stronger, and you can notice much more changes in your life. This is something very important. And now let's talk about the time frame, because of course it's very important. The actual retrograde period is between the 6th of October and the 15th of November 2018. But here is another thing which is important. This phase actually will start earlier because we are interested to find the dates when Venus will move through this certain place of the zodiac 3 times. So on the 6th of October, Venus is on the 11th degree in Scorpio. And until the 15th of November, it will be on the 26th degree in Libra. But actually, yes, it will go back to Libra. But we would like to find out when Venus will move to the 26th degree of Libra for the first time. And the first time is when Venus is direct, because it is, the beginning of this period. It's like the shadow place of the zodiac. And it actually happens on the 6th, let me see. Okay, on the 3rd of September. On the 3rd of September, Venus is moving direct, but it will move on the 26th degree of Libra, where it will be basically at the end of the retrograde phase. That's why we are interested. So it means that everything that you start from the 3rd of September after the 3rd of September, can go through some changes after that when Venus goes back through this sign, through these degrees retrograde, and after that for the 3rd time. So this whole period starts from the 3rd of September and it will end on the 18th of December, when Venus will be on the 11th degree of Scorpio, but this time it will be direct.
So 3rd of September to 18th of September is the whole period.
18th of December.
18th of December.
Yes, but the last phase, so when Venus will be moving direct for the 3rd time, this is a time when you can start new things, because Venus won't return back to this degree. So we can't expect, the things that we start to go through some changes after that. So basically the period when you have to be especially careful is from the 3rd of September until the 15th of November. This is the time.
3rd from the beginning, yes. From the first is the 26th degree in Libra till the end of the retrograde period.
Yes. And after that, until the 18th of December, we can still expect that some things... Sorry?
Yeah, you start seeing results then, the complicated situation starts resolving, or things start moving forward.
Yes. The situation can go to another level, or you can solve it, or something can change. Sometimes these changes, they can happen, they can be for good. You can start something, and if it's supposed to change after some time, then it's okay. Venus retrograde may not be so bad for you. But of course,
you start a fashion collection, you start doing it, and then retrograde Venus comes and you have to change some of the material, some of the looks, improve them, and then Venus goes direct and you release it, and it's much better success and you're much happier. Yes, you were frustrated for a bit that you had to change some things, or sometimes it's like starting a relationship, but you can give examples.
Yeah, well, there are some things which we shouldn't do when Venus is retrograde. And the first thing, of course, that I will say is to get married. I wouldn't recommend to anyone to get married during this phase. So just to repeat it again, from the 3rd of September until the 15th of November. If you want to have a stable, long-lasting marriage, please don't get married during this time. If you start a relationship during this time, it may also go through some kind of changes. Of course, we can't control sometimes, these events, but you should be prepared that, for example, if you start a relationship during this time, after that, the situation can change. Your relationship with that person will go through some changes. But marriage, definitely not a good idea. The other thing which we should avoid is everything, because Venus is the planet of beauty, including our appearance and the physical beauty. So I wouldn't recommend also plastic surgeries or some important changes in our appearance, because after Venus moves through the same degree back again, and then for the third time, you may realize that you don't like the result.
Yes, in a different state of mind when Venus is retrograde.
Yes.
You kind of have a quirkier or at least more different state of fashion, and you're like, let me try something new or whatever, and something different.
Yes, and our emotional state is very different. So here I want to say something important. Basically, Venus will be retrograde at the beginning of this period. It will be in Scorpio, which is the detriment position of Venus. It means one of the weakest possible positions. Actually, Scorpio and Aries are the weakest position for Venus. So when Venus is in such a weak position, it's important in a way, but we are not so, for example, on an emotional level, we can control our emotions. Everything is outside of the normal state. And after that, it's interesting that Venus will go through Libra, the sign of its rulership. So I expect that during this phase, there will be a very significant change. The first phase will be,
dramatic,
in one way.
drama.
Yes. Yeah.
Intensity, losing your mind a bit.
Yes, because we have to understand actually what's typical for Venus, starting from the mythology, the archetypes of Venus, and actually what it means to have a strong Venus. When Venus is strong, actually you can control your emotions. You're rational, you're realistic, and you control your emotions. It's not like the emotions are controlling you. That's what Venus in Libra is. Of course, we're talking if it's not hurt from another planet. If Venus is strong, then you're able to control your emotions.
Yeah, you're more impartial as well in relationships. You want to do things for the best of both sides. You don't see things just from one angle. You see it from both, so you're much more cooperative. So that's why it's great for relationship when Venus is strong.
Yes, and what was I going to say?
And when
Venus. What's the strength of Venus? Actually, the strength of Venus is in its weakness. When Venus is strong, the person is, tender. He's gentle with others. There is no force. There is, no aggression. That's what the strong Venus is. And even though on the outer level, sometimes it may look like, for example, Libras or people with strong Venus, they may hesitate sometimes or they can't make choices. It's only about the small things on an inner level, on a very deep level, about the important stuff. When Venus is strong, we know what we really want about relationships, about our life, about everything. And when Venus is weak, like it is in Scorpio, actually we have the opposite situation. The emotions can be really strong, really intense, but we can't control them. It's like our emotions are controlling us. And it can be related with some obsessions, with some, unhealthy relationships. It could be very difficult. Venus in Scorpio, it can be related with some painful emotional experiences. And there is always some drama. You know, Venus in Scorpio, it's related with drama. And when Venus is retrograde and moving very slow, actually all this drama, all this pain, it can affect us on a very deep level. And for example, we can get insulted so easily, and it's so difficult to forget. And that's something we can expect actually when Venus is in Scorpio. There might be a lot of drama. It might be difficult to, you know, create new partnerships. In the area of our relationships, you know, things may not be fluent. We may not be willing actually to compromise, to forgive. So you can expect all of that when
you
Venus.
Want revenge, and you want to have it your way. And,
yes.
And you go and do a crime of passion, or you go and you know, to basically you said you can control the feelings.
Yeah, everything is either black or white. Something very typical for Scorpio and for Venus in Scorpio. Everything is either black or white. I totally love you or I totally hate you. And, you know, you can't find the middle. You can't be, you know, compromising. And sometimes, it can be related with, well, it doesn't mean that you will start to hate your partner, of course, but you may see things in a very extreme way. And your judgments may not be so accurate, because Venus is also related with the ability to make good judgments. You know, Saturn is exalted in Libra, and that's what makes, you know, this sign, and of course Libra is and Venus as well, related with the opportunity to give good judgments, to put the accurate labels to things. You know, this is good and this is bad, and you can, you know, make the right judgments. When Venus is weak, you're not so accurate in all of these judgments. But then comes the other part. So we said that first Venus is retrograde in Scorpio, and after, let me see, the 31st of October, Venus will move to Libra. Of course, it will be retrograde again. And things may not be so intense on an emotional level, but it might be still difficult to make compromises. It might be difficult, you know, also to share your emotions. When Venus is retrograde, all of these emotions, they're turned on the inside, and it's more difficult to express this. So you can share your feelings, or you feel like the other person can't understand you, and this can bring some kind of frustration, and it makes the relationship more difficult. However, I think that after Venus enters Libra, the situation can become easier. But there is also something important. Venus will make a few aspects while it is retrograde. And they're also very important about the influence of Venus. And actually, we can say a few words about this aspect, just to mention the dates. So the first aspect is the square with Mars. On the 10th of October, Venus retrograde will make square with Mars, which is in Aquarius. It's interesting because Mars is also the second ruler of Scorpio, and this aspect actually is very important. And imagine this aspect, just imagine it. Venus retrograde in Scorpio squared by Mars. Well, you know, this aspect
hide your guns, husbands, hide your guns in life.
So much drama, so much aggression, so much jealousy, actually. So we have to be very careful around these dates. You know, all kinds of conflicts and arguing, and sometimes even violence. Unfortunately, this can also be related with violence.
And it's not necessarily just in your love relationship. It can be in any relationships, basically.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Venus rules women overall, so it's kind of with your female friend, you might have a jealousy fight or something, So
yeah, but it could be very, very difficult. There will be something interesting at the end with this Mars, but before that, the other aspects we have on the 15th conjunction on the 15th of October, conjunction between Venus retrograde and Mercury, again in Scorpio. This aspect.
What degree? What degree is this happening at?
Let me check it. It will be in the first few degrees of Scorpio, but I don't remember the exact degree. But we are going to check that immediately.
So people with the first Venus square Mars can be affected mostly if they have planets in around from the 11th to around the 5th degree, I would say, of Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, and Leo.
Leo, yeah, the fixed
Planets,
signs.
yeah, any planets in the first, let's say, 10 degrees, the first 10 degrees of the fixed
Yes.
signs, you have to be careful.
Yes, so the exact conjunction is on the 9th degree of Scorpio. And of course, you have to check if you have planets on this degree or in the other fixed signs in the same degree. And I think that this aspect actually can help us a little bit to be more rational, to be more, to think about the situation. Mercury is a planet, I think, which can help in this situation, actually, to be able to make some judgments. And, there might be a lot of thinking. But of course, this aspect is not difficult like Mars.
Help us in a situation we're not so well. Yes. About friendships or talking to someone as well. It can. This is how. Oh, maybe we can a bit negotiate something a bit more better. Yeah.
Yeah. So this can be a positive aspect for all of us. Then we have another positive aspect. On the 24th of October, Venus will make sextile with Saturn. And Saturn will be already in Capricorn. So Saturn will be extremely strong. Venus is very weak. So Saturn will have the stronger influence over Venus. And I think it will be helpful for all of us, to be able to control a little bit more all of this drama, to be able to see things from perspective and to put things in some kind of boundaries, to be more realistic about the situation. So this will be a helpful aspect. Then comes another aspect. On the 26th of October, there will be an exact conjunction between the Sun and Venus, which means that Venus will be in the heart of the Sun, or Venus will be burned from the Sun. This is a very interesting position, both in the birth chart and in the transit, which means that all of the qualities of Venus become part of the personality or become part of the Sun. So we can be extremely emotional. And in this case, it might be difficult because, again, we talked about the weakness of Venus. So we might be over-emotional, over-sensitive when the Sun makes this exact conjunction with Venus. There might be, again, a lot of drama, a lot of, so difficult to forgive, actually. And then comes, I think, the most interesting aspect, which is exact on the 31st of October. There will be an opposition between Venus retrograde and Uranus. Venus is on the 1st degree in Scorpio, and Uranus will be already in Taurus on the 1st degree. And actually, Venus rules Uranus in this situation because Uranus is in Taurus. I think this will be an extremely interesting aspect. And again, we know that the difficult aspects with Uranus, they can bring, separations, so many unexpected things, and sometimes crisis. But of course, Uranus has also very positive side, which is related with freedom. So we can set free from our past, from some relationships which are not healthy, which are not good for us. And actually, this is something good which we can do when Venus is retrograde, to separate with the past, to separate with a partner which is not good for you, to put the end of a certain relationship, and to start things on fresh. So Uranus making this opposition with Venus can bring, so many unexpected things, but at the same time, it can set us free. It can make us very romantic. Uranus, is related with some high ideals. And sometimes they're not realistic, especially when Uranus is making difficult aspects. Something else which is important. We mentioned that Venus is related with finances. And actually, this opposition will be in the two financial signs, in Scorpio and Taurus. So globally, I think that this aspect can bring some serious changes and unexpected situations in the area of finances. So generally, I wouldn't recommend people to make some important financial decisions, to invest a lot of money when Venus is retrograde, especially when it makes the opposition with Uranus, because things might be totally different from what you have expected, and the results are really unpredictable.
And they can be sudden falls or spikes in markets and things like that with money or the currencies. Some currency can lose value.
Absolutely, yes. Globally, it can affect us because this aspect, it will last longer than usual. Of course, Venus makes oppositions with Uranus basically more than once a year, but this time, and normally they last for approximately 2 days or maximum 3 days. But this time when Venus is retrograde, this aspect will last longer. That's why the impact is much deeper and stronger for all of us, including on an economical level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and let me see finally.
Wow. Venus is making so many aspects.
Yeah, that's why I told you I think it will be very interesting, and everyone, of course, needs to check what Venus will make in their personal chart, because it's extremely important. Which houses Venus will go through and what aspects it will make with your birth planets, because actually it will be very important about the influence. For some people it might be more positive, for others it might be more difficult, and of course in different areas. And the last aspect, very interesting, on the 9th of November, Venus is in Libra, and this time it will make trine with Mars. You remember the first aspect Venus retrograde made was square with Mars. Now it's moving in Libra and it makes trine with Mars again. So I think that there will be more harmony. In some way, we may find some solutions. We might be able, to achieve some desires that we may have. And, generally speaking, this can change in a positive direction the possible difficulties which might have occurred before that at the beginning of the transit.
So it starts crazy, it goes up and down. We think like, oh, everything is fine, we're negotiated, and then blows again, Venus, Uranus, and then comes fine Mars, and we're like, and Venus is in Libra, it's strong already, so we kind of, things might actually end up for better.
Yes, very, very interesting. By the way, something important we didn't mention. Venus is retrograde in the same sign once in 8 years. Every 8 years, it's retrograde in the same sign. So something very useful can be to go back to, October, November 2010. Because this is the time when Venus was retrograde in Scorpio, Libra for the last time. And something similar can happen, or it may not be the same, of course, but in the same life areas. Certain topics can be important for you. Actually, it's also interesting, we mentioned the aspects that Venus retrograde will make with your birth plans. Let's say my generation, we have Pluto in Scorpio as well. So Venus retrograde actually will move through my Pluto.
Yes. Yes, Pluto in Scorpio.
Yes, the previous generation, they had Uranus in Scorpio. For some people, Venus retrograde will move through their Uranus. The generation before that, they had Neptune in Scorpio. So Venus will affect this area. So very interesting, of course. It can have different influences for all of us, actually. But generally, as we said, this is the time when you should avoid getting married. If you can avoid starting an important relationship, it can be also good. Making some serious investments, changes with your appearance, especially with surgeries, because we said, especially with Mars squaring Venus, it's a total disaster if you decide to make a plastic surgery or something like that.
Mars rules, basically.
Operations, surgeries are ruled by Mars. Something positive to do is actually to try to set free with your past. If you have some unsolved situation, they might appear back in your life. And it means that you still haven't finished what you have to do in this area or with that person. So you have to focus on setting free from the past. Venus retrograde is also related with our self-love and how we treat ourselves. So this is also a time, to try to think about that, how you treat yourself and how you expect others to treat you, to learn to love yourself. Something more practical is, for example, to throw away your old clothes. If you have something, because clothes and makeup and all of this stuff, they're related with Venus. So try to set free from that. It can be helpful, and it can open up a new energy for you to come into your life.
But just don't go buying a totally brand new wardrobe while Venus is retrograde.
No, you will change your mind. You're just going to change your mind.
I remember when Venus was retrograde in my 7th house. It was in a different sign, but 7th house connected to relationship. And I was like, am I going to be breaking with my partner? What's going to happen? Actually, I went back to my country and I had closure for a relationship that broke my heart when I was 17. And I still haven't healed from that. It was the thing that kind of hurt me the most in my life and started me drinking and stuff. And I was still harboring. And we had such an amicable meeting and talking. And I was like, I was healed. It was one of the most healing periods. And that was exactly before marriage, basically, before I got married. So it helped me move forward. So that sometimes it can be fantastic. But Venus was making great aspects from there for me personally. So
yeah, of course.
Closure. That's something good to important.
Yeah, and actually, as we talked about, we can make actually a whole webinar on that topic and to discuss in details about each of the signs, what they can expect, or certain combinations with other planets, because this is a huge topic.
Yes, let's do a webinar coming on to, because it starts from September, maybe in August.
Yeah, for example, so that people will be prepared and there will be more details and different combinations.
He's a fantastic teacher. I learn from her all the time and I love attending her webinars, and you haven't had one with us for a while, so it's time to, and actually we're doing a webinar on Heliacal phases, aren't we? In December. That's fantastic topic. It's something that is not there at all. It's something that maybe there is something written on the internet about it, but it's just astrology that's been revived from the ancient texts in the last 10, 15, 20 years, let's say. And Marina is lucky and she has the best teachers in the world that are translating directly from, those ancient sources. So she's going to do for everyone 5 years of Heliacal phases, when your planets are the strongest and what they're good for, wasn't it?
Yes, there will be personal calculations and charts, and during the webinar we are going to explain actually how to interpret and what it means if certain planet is visible or invisible in your horoscope. There will be
you have like invisible Mars, like I do. What does it mean for you? Because there's so much contradictory information about direct retrograde planets becoming invisible in your horoscope, what it means. This is what heliacal phases are. Visibility of planet, and a planet loses its power when it's invisible. But sometimes it can be good, actually. And sometimes it can be.
And it changes during the years. So it's very important actually to know when certain planet is visible or invisible. Maybe it's a topic for another webinar, but just a simple example from my life. For example, I had 2 years when I had both Venus invisible and the ruler of my 7th house, Saturn, was invisible. No relationship, I mean, no relationship. And I was, it's personal, of course, but for example, you have to be prepared with that. When Venus is invisible and the ruler of your 7th house is invisible, it's not your time for having a relationship.
You might be Marilyn Monroe, but you're not gonna.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on the other hand, for example, let's say that during this period, the ruler of your 10th house rises and you have some other positive indications. Well, this is a time when you have to focus on your career. And by knowing that, you can prepare yourself.
And it's amazing. You don't You don't have to look at transits, at those complicated things. You just look when in your life planet will be visible. You can do those things. They'll be materially manifest in your life. And when it's invisible, they're not going to be there. And
Yes.
I have invisible Mars and invisible Venus. And my Mars became finally visible around the 30th year. And it rules my 10th house of career. This is when I started my business. Until then, I could not do any career. It was just not happening. I tried 7 years before that to do that business. Nothing worked. And then Mars becomes visible and bam.
Yeah.
And some people might have like a dried spell for 20 years without a relationship. If Venus stays invisible for such a long, some people, it's rare, but
it depends. Yeah, it depends. And actually, it's very important to know that the planets, they have different manifestations. They can manifest on an inner level and on an outer level in a totally different way. So, for example, when your Jupiter is invisible, yes, on an outer level, you may not be so successful and other people may not admire you and may not appreciate your work, but on an inner level, you can learn so many things. This is a time when you can get wisdom, you can, understand so many things. Spirituality and inspiration may come to you, but that's when you know the different levels of the planets, on the different levels.
The inner and the outer levels. And in the webinar in December that Marina is doing, she would explain all of this. Tune in. We're going to make a short interview before that.
Yes, of course.
So stay tuned to the channel because this is a fantastic topic. You'll be one step ahead of all astrologers in the world if you know this information, or just for yourself. You don't need to be an astrologer. You will receive a personal map with the heliacal phases of your planets for the next 5 years. And you can see, for example, Venus will become invisible. Okay, what will this period be good for, and what should I not put high hopes on? So that would be fantastic. But coming back to Venus in Scorpio, let's wrap it up. And if you have something more interesting, Venus retrograde, sorry.
Yes, well, I think that we mentioned the most important aspects, and we have to be prepared because a lot of unexpected things can happen. We can expect some difficulties, and usually it's so difficult to negotiate with others, and people can't seem to understand each other. And you have to be prepared and to be a little bit, to step back when you can, because for example, this time, because we had Venus retrograde this year around March, it was in Aries and Pisces. Well, all around me, the area of relationships was a disaster, including in my life, and it's so difficult actually to compromise, and everyone wants, insist on what he wants. And at these times, I just reminded myself, well, okay, Venus is retrograde. I don't want to go, too much with that. Let's wait. Let's be more, gentle. Try to be more conscious about it, because when we are aware of certain indications of our personal horoscopes, that's the time when we can control the planets and the aspects. Because, for example, in my horoscope, I have Venus in Scorpio. So everything which I mentioned about the drama, about, being obsessed with certain feelings, unable to release them, everything is so true for me. And after I started learning astrology, of course, I saw, Venus in Scorpio, it's awful. Well, it's not so awful because you have so intense emotional experiences. Your life is rich of, emotions. But I remind myself, well, every now and then I like to dramatize things. That's part of my nature. And I try to remind myself that. And that's the time when I can learn. Of course, that's a long process. It's slow, but actually learn to control all of that. So the most important thing is to know yourself, to know your horoscope. I think it all starts with the horoscope. And after that, you can become more conscious about things. And even the difficulties, the biggest challenges in the horoscope, they can bring the biggest potential for you. Because we mentioned Venus, for example, it rules Libra, it's in detriment in Scorpio. So it's very good in Libra, it's bad in Scorpio. But it's not exactly like that, because when planet is extremely strong or extremely weak, actually it becomes very active. And when it is very active, actually there is something inside of you that pushes you, to go in this direction and to try to do some stuff, to grow or whatever it is. It's an important point in your life.
It's about the pimple, and you try to squeeze it, and you try to heal it, to fix it, because it's there, it annoys you, and it pushes you to grow.
Exactly, and it's about every planet in the horoscope, whether it's in a very good position. I mean, like, for example, in its essential dignity in the rulership or exaltation, or it's in a fall or detriment position. Actually, it makes the planet very important to you. And sometimes people with very weak planets, they can achieve better results than others, because there is something that pushes them. For example, someone with a weak Jupiter, he feels like he's not good enough, and other people don't respect him, they don't appreciate him. That's what forces him, to grow and to develop.
I'll show you.
Exactly. And finally he will have better results than other people who, for example, they naturally feel confident, they are in harmony with themselves, they don't need to prove the world anything. Mm-hmm. And finally the results are, actually totally different. So even your weakest indications, positions in the horoscope, whatever it is, they can turn into something positive if you know about them and if you focus and try to work with that. And it's about everything, not only for Venus, not for Jupiter, for everything. So yeah. Everything starts with your personal horoscope. That's the most important.
Absolutely. Wow, that was very inspiring. And even though it was a bit scary, you told us how to prepare and not to dramatize things. And yes, if people can watch this video again throughout the whole 2018 to get their mindset, to get prepared, even for their whole life, it's going to help.
Yes, of course.
Well, thank you so much, Marina, for taking from your time to join me today.
Thank you very much.
Nancy, you can have a reading with Marina, putting a link below for her services. You see, she's very professional, very knowledgeable. You do live readings as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Skype or recorded sessions.
Yes, so she's an amazing astrologer. And do check out in December, actually, or the videos before that, for the webinar that we're going to do about the heliacal phases, which planets will be visible, where do you have, where you can manifest in an outer way and where you manifest more inwardly.
And don't forget the yearly horoscopes that we are starting in 1 or 2 weeks.
Yes, guys, do tune in. We'll be speaking about each sign and what you expect the whole 2018 specifically for you. So I'm looking forward to all that. Thank you, Marina, again. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. So many people live now. Wow, listening to us. Thank you so much. And
thank you too for having me.
The next video, I think, is Mars retrograde, guys. We're here on a roll. We're gonna start in a little bit. And the next one after that will be about the nodes going into Cancer at the end of 2018. Anyway, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.